If you think you already know where this trade war is heading, no, Einstambi and Dax Entreaty. If you think you understand what Mark Carney is willing to do and what he absolutely refuses to do when sitting across the table from Donald Trump, then buckle up right now, because what happened when she today in London and Paris may be the most consequential diplomatic escalation in the entire Canada-US trade war. And no Canadian Prime Minister has ever done anything like it before. Not Trudeau, not Harper, not Chrétien, no one. Because Mark Carney just did something far bigger than setting demands on tariffs, autos, steel, aluminum, or market access. He set a condition on the talks themselves, not the outcome. The talks. And the condition is simple, public, and politically explosive. Donald Trump must stop calling Canada the 51st state, or there will be no deal. That is the line. That is the test. And that single condition may have just changed the entire strategic calculus ahead of the July USMCA review deadline, the most important North American trade countdown in modern history. What makes this even bigger is where Carney chose to do it. Not Ottawa. Not Washington. But a tatum not things to London and Paris, standing shoulder to shoulder with Emmanuel, Macron, and Keir Starmer. And two of America's closest allies. This was not accidental. This was precision diplomacy. And before we break down exactly what happened in Paris, why London matters even more, why Macron and Starmer are now publicly reinforcing Canada's sovereignty line, and why this may be the culmination of 12 months of the most disciplined diplomatic maneuvering any allied leader has run against an American president in modern history. And make sure you subscribe right now to BCC News and turn on the bell, because this story is moving by the hour and the July 1st deadline is getting closer fast. Now let's go back to the beginning, because you cannot understand what Carney just did today unless you understand what Trump spent the last 12 months trying to build. When Donald Trump returned to the White House in January 2025, he launched a strategy toward Canada unlike anything seen between neighboring democracies in modern history. He didn't just target trade, he targeted identity. He attacked the very legitimacy of Canadian sovereignty. He publicly mocked the border as an artificial line drawn with a ruler. So he repeatedly called then Prime Minister Trudeau Governor Trudeau He posted altered maps showing Canada absorbed into the United States under an American flag. And over again, he repeated the same line. Canada should become the 51st state. The message was clear. Accept Washington's terms and the tariffs disappear. Resist and Canada faces economic punishment. Then the tariffs came. On 25% on Canadian goods, raised to 35% by July. Another 10% in October. And on April 2nd, a devastating 25% tariff on imported cars and car parts, directly threatening Canada's auto industry. Trump thought this would force concessions. But here is what he did not understand about Mark Carney. Carney is not improvising. He is not reacting emotionally. He is a former central banker who spent decades studying how leverage, dependency, and systemic risk actually work. And he saw something most analysts completely missed. The 51st state rhetoric was not just theater. It was the load-bearing wall of Trump's entire Canada strategy. Because if Canadians began to feel, even slightly, that their sovereignty depended on American goodwill, then every negotiation would begin from fear. Every compromise would become an act of national self-preservation. And Trump would win before the first tariff number was even discussed. So Carney spent 12 months dismantling that framework, methodically, quietly. And today in Europe, he weaponized the collapse of that narrative. Here's what happened. Carney landed first in Checherchi, Sao Wang Chi, Sao Dao Wai, Wai Nai Chi, Paris Hu Wang, Stein, where he met French President Emmanuel Macron at the Vixis, or your Elysee Palace, Chihuahua. The two leaders reaffirmed the Canada-EU trade framework, expanded cooperation on defense, intelligence, and strategic investment. Then Macron delivered the line that Washington instantly understood. France wants to build its most strategic projects with its closest, most loyal partners. Tariffs only bring inflation. That word, loyal, was not random. It was a diplomatic signal, a distinction between reliable allies and unreliable ones. And the only unreliable actor in the conversation was the one not in the room, Trump. Then Carney moved to London Ivan Korskim Salwines Yisawi and the Dun London Pai Ming Sound Gen Chihuahuan, where he met Keir Starmer at Chiu Dawi Sound 10 Downing Street. The discussions covered the Iran War, Strait of Hormuz disruption, Ukraine, UK-Canada defense expansion, trade resilience, energy security. But the real headline came afterward. Standing before reporters after both meetings, Carney made it public. For broader negotiations with Washington to move forward before the USMCA July review deadline, Trump must stop the paid for first state rhetoric and annexation threats. He said the comments are not useful and deeply disrespectful and incompatible with serious negotiations. That is the story, not a tariff threat, not a countermeasure, a condition of entry. No respect for sovereignty. No talks. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Will Trump stop saying it, or will he double down? Because that answer may determine whether North America heads toward a trade deal or total supply chain chaos. And here is why this move is so strategically brilliant. Trump has already said publicly that he wants a deal. He called Carney a big step up. He said their meetings were very positive. He said there was no tension. In other words, Trump needs the talks to happen. And Carney has now made the price of admission something Trump does almost reflexively in front of cameras. That creates three exits for for Trump. Exit 1, back down. So. He stops saying 51st state, gets signaling rhetorical retreat and undermining the emotional core of his Canada strategy. Exit 2, refuse. Talks stall before July. USMCA enters uncertainty. Markets react instantly. Manufacturers, auto workers, and farmers face supply chain instability. Exit 3, escalate. More tariffs, more pressure. But this has already failed repeatedly, and Carney knows it. Because over the last 12 months, he has rebuilt Canada's alternatives. Paris, London, Tokyo, Canberra, New Delhi, Jakarta, Beijing. "12 new trade agreements across 4 continents. The Canada-EU relationship expanded. The UK partnership deepened. ASEAN access widened. Chinese tariff barriers reduced. Long-term aluminum contracts locked into Europe. New defense banking mechanisms launched outside the U.S. financial system. This is why the condition works. Because Canada no longer negotiates from dependence. It negotiates from optionality. And today, standing in London after Paris with Macron's message of Oi, Wenchi, Fi, Ha, loyal partners. Still echoing through diplomatic circles, Carney calmly told Trump what it takes to sit down. Stop the phrase. Stop the intimidation. Respect sovereignty. Then we talk. The July 1st deadline is now 15 weeks away, so no substantive USMCA talks are currently scheduled. And the world is now watching what Trump does next. Every auto worker in Michigan, every farmer in Iowa, every manufacturer in Ohio, every investor watching North American supply chains, because this was not just a press statement. This was the moment 12 months of quiet leverage building became public pressure. So if this BCC News breakdown gave you the complete picture of how Carney just changed the trade war from London and Paris, share this video right now. Because the next move out of Washington may decide the economic future of North America. Subscribe to BCC News, hit the bell, and stay ahead of the trade story the mainstream media is still only covering in fragments.